Let's talk Liverpool, Danny. Their struggles continued last night, didn't they? Held at home by Sunderland. That's 3 without a win at Anfield. A couple of defeats, of course, in that time. Usually a fortress. It's not feeling that way at the moment, is it?
No, it's not. Let's not take anything away from Sunderland, though. They have been the surprise package this season. You know, they've been absolutely magnificent. So let's give them a lot of credit, first and foremost, the way that they've played this season. But for Liverpool, it's just not happening at the moment. Bringing in lots of players can be disruptive at times, and I think that's been part of the case. Mosalah, Virgil van Dijk signed, finally got those big deals signed. Has a touch of complacency crept in as well? Who knows? It's almost like the perfect storm, I think. There are so many little things that maybe have gone wrong. They've all come at once, and of course that's causing massive problems. And from winning the title last season, suddenly you think they've got no chance. You know, that they're out of the title race, you know, so far this year. They look very, very vulnerable. And somehow he's got to find a team and a rhythm to get back to winning ways.
Players don't fit Slot's formation. Does he have a point with that?
It does feel like there's a little bit of square pegs in round holes at the moment. Jurgen Klopp had a very specific way of playing. Arne Slot took on that team, tinkered with it slightly, made it a fraction more defensive, a bit more solid, but didn't do too much with it. Suddenly in the summer, for lots of different reasons, he's had an overhaul. You know, 8 or 9 different players, you know, players in and players out. That's a big swing of real quality as well. Everybody wants to start. So I think at the moment he's still trying to find who fits into the way they played last year, trying to change the way they play slightly, and he just can't find the right system, the players in the right positions at the moment to get it to really tick.
Mosalah hasn't ticked yet this season. He certainly ticked last season. He hasn't done this time. Dropped, left out, however you want to put it, by Slot for the last 2 games. First time in his Liverpool career he's been left out for successive games. How is he going to be handling this? Is this a short-term thing? Could this be longer-term? What do you think?
Well, he's going into hiding by the look of those pictures. Again, not quite sure why he was doing that. It's like, you know, clearly he knows the cameras are going to be on him. He is a fantastic player. He has been absolutely superb over the last 7, 8, 9, whatever it is. He has been magnificent. You know, more often than not, Liverpool's saviour. It's not quite happening for him, you know, at the moment. And again, do you look at it and think, well, he signed this big bumper contract. Does that have anything to do with it? Is there a fraction of complacency?
Have you seen that in the past in your career?
Oh, with some players, without a doubt. You know, you're building. You know, there's an incentive to play well, and all of a sudden you get that big deal. And you only got to talk a drop-off of 5% sometimes, and it can affect you. That might not be the case. You know, he clearly looks after himself. He's clearly a fantastic athlete. The way the team is set up maybe doesn't quite suit him. In previous seasons, he's almost been given a free role and just said, look, don't worry about defending. You just go and attack. Liverpool have dominated possession. They've been on top. So he's been able to do that. Suddenly the team aren't playing as well. He has to do a bit more defensively, gets caught out. Maybe his starting position when he gets the ball isn't as high up the pitch. So instead of having to run 20, 30 yards, he's having to run 40 or 50, go past 3 or 4 players instead of 2. All these things come into play. So again, it's that perfect storm accumulation of lots of little things that are making Liverpool not the force they were.
I mean, from one legend who's been left out to another who's under real scrutiny at the moment, Virgil van Dijk. Look, we know he sets really high standards. Right now, how far off them is he, do you think?
From the standards he set previously, he's a little way off that. You know, you see, was there a time that no one had ever dribbled past him or whatever it might be? He gets a little bit unfortunate there. He turns his back, probably should stay square. You know, here, don't know what happened to his thinking. He seems to lose his position on the pitch, doesn't quite understand where he is, and almost runs away from protecting the goal.
Because I don't remember any instance like that last season. That sort of thing wasn't happening, was it?
Or the season before,
Yeah.
And even when they were finishing, they weren't winning it. You know, he was still performing and being absolutely outstanding. Is that because he's lost a little bit of protection in front of that? You know, that can always be the case. You know, two of the most important players on the pitch, or the most important, is that holding midfield player. how much protection does he give to those centre forwards? It's easy to say no one's ever dribbled past you. How many times did they try it? How many times were in that position to do it? Suddenly now there's a lot more opportunity for players to run at Virgil van Dijk, to get on top of him, because that holding midfield player isn't the same as it was. So again, has he lost a bit of confidence in what's in front of him? Goalkeepers chopped and changed. There hasn't been the consistency behind him either. Fullback has changed, to the left. That's changed. Robertson's come back in a little bit. A new right back that has changed seems almost every game. They must have had 3 or 4 right backs this season. Whereas before, you knew what was happening. And when you're a defender especially, it's very much like second nature. You don't have to think, you don't have to look where your teammate is, you just know. And you think of all those great defences, consistency was the key. Same back four, pretty much throughout the season. All the great teams, all the best teams have always had that, and Liverpool at the moment are having, for one reason or another, chop and change all the time.
Slot's got a lot on his plate. The owners have got a lot on their plate. But as a Liverpool fan, I'll tell you this. A few years ago, after we won the title, the following year, we were on the worst run I've ever seen. We ended up getting top 4, and then we won the title a couple of years later. So this is football. Confidence can be fragile.
And 8th in the table, it is only 2 points off the top 4. And top 4, given that Slot won the title last season, with that credit in the bank, top 4 might be enough. And of course, there's still Europe and FA Cup to come.
Yes, I mean, obviously, Champions League is a consideration. They'd love to win that. The title's probably gone, being 11 points out of it so soon in the season, and you don't see an Arsenal or a Man City giving up that kind of a lead, and I still think Man City might pip Arsenal. But I think more importantly is bet those new players in, get confidence back in the group, start winning at Anfield again and making that the place everyone used to fear going to. I'm watching Sunderland be quite comfortable at Anfield last night. That's unsettling. To see Nottingham Forest beat you score 4 past you, that's unsettling. People are writing off Slot. He's under a lot of pressure. Slot ball, they want to talk about, was a Jurgen Klopp's team last year. I think it's harsh. I would definitely be on the side of, you give that manager as much time as you can. I think he deserves that. He's got enough credit in the bank. And those newer players, particularly Isak, get your act together. It's time now to show up. All of this about not being fit and not having a pre-season, there was a lot of money invested in you. You paid a lot of money. You're going to need a lot more than 6 or 7 touches around the pitch. And you're going to have to start running the hard yards. There's not enough of that's happening either. We can't make those mistakes that we've been making all season. It's time to clean it up. Sunderland had a great game plan last night. A lot of respect. I know it's your club. Nobody expected them to come to Anfield and nearly nick it in the 90th minute and be so comfortable. Liverpool showed up. Right there. Liverpool showed up in the last 10 minutes, and that was great. But we needed them to show up at Anfield for 90 minutes. That's what the crowd expects. I expect that will happen very soon, and they will win 4 or 5 in a row. My biggest concern for me would be out wide, and obviously the number 9 that you want to go with. They've spent so much money on Isak, it's almost by default he's in the team, and his performances haven't merited him being in the team at the moment.
If you're the owner of Liverpool, and you're in charge of obviously changing managers, etc.,
sure.
Do you think that regardless of what happens this season, Slot should still be there at the end of the season?
Absolutely. Unless some disastrous reason Liverpool are
what would
7,
be a
8.
disaster for Liverpool, do you think? What would make it that bad?
Going into January, February, where basically Liverpool are 6th, 7th or 8th and 10 points outside of the Champions League would be a disaster for a club that size, and the investment that was made in the summer, even though they sold a lot of players. And people forget, I think it was 10 players that left. They talk about the 400 million spent. It was also nearly 300 odd million brought in.
Yeah.
So a lot of changes needed to happen, a lot of restructure needed to happen. The biggest problem Liverpool have got is the system, is betting those new players in, not looking themselves out wide. Things like that make you uncomfortable. Liverpool's biggest strength was out wide, and you're looking this season, you're looking whether it's Salah, Gapco, it's not working out wide. Now you got Wirtz, and you got to find where you playing him. Sometimes he's playing off the left, sometimes he's playing in the centre, sometimes he's in a free role. Bet those players in, knuckle down, and dig out more results. They got to get a result against Leeds. They go to Leeds and have a disaster, and Leeds had a great win last night. He's under pressure again. People like Van Dijk will be in that dressing room now saying to the players, there's a lack of intensity right now in Liverpool. Whether that's down to confidence, whether that's down to, I don't know, the training schedule. I don't know about what goes on behind closed doors. But you look at Liverpool, they're not the pressing machine that they were, or pressing animal they were last year. Certainly not under Klopp, where they'd press you so high up the pitch. What you saw in the final 10 minutes, when Sunderland went 1-0 up, it was like button goes, let's start pressing them, let's get the ball back. Sunderland didn't have the ball for like 9 minutes, I think. That's what you expect from a Liverpool team against a top side, and no disrespect to Sunderland, when they're playing an Arsenal or whether they're playing a Man City. That's the Liverpool you expect. So for those players at the moment to lack the intensity, I'm just seeing something about Joe Gomez losing 8 of 9 duels that he contested last night. Mosalah, probably couldn't beat me at the moment if I was playing full back for some reason. So something's not quite right, but it doesn't mean it can't get right. And we're talking about a magnificent football club that's just won the title, have had a horrible summer off the pitch, have had a lot of changes on the pitch. And for that, I'm one of those people who we give them more time. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and stick with them. Because it's easy to say, it's horrible to watch, it's lackluster, the manager doesn't know what he's doing, the intensity's gone from all of the players, he's lost the dressing room. That's just the easy narrative, and the narrative the media like to spin and put more pressure on.
We don't know if he's lost the dressing room. There's no way we can know that.
He hasn't. The bottom line is they've got to go back to work. I always say, it's a saying of mine, goes back in whether it's in sports or off the field, on the field, is that, the harder you work, the luckier you get. And when you're in real moments of challenges in your life, dig in and work harder. I say the same to my kids every day. When I was under the most pressure in my life, I always found work even harder, and I came through it. Because if you just wave the white flag and you give up at that point, well, then everyone wins. And I don't think anyone's going to win this time. I think Liverpool will come through this, and it'll make them stronger. And I do hope Slot comes through it.
The stat that you just said there is, I'm not a massive stats man, but these are actually quite interesting here. You're right. So Joe Gomez lost 8 of his 9 duels.
Yep.
Salah lost all 4 of his in the second half. Dominic Szoboszlai won 1 of 5 ground duels.
He's played, by the way, and Szoboszlai's been one of the positives this season.
He's the one people have been praising the most.
You don't want to get him dragged
shifted
down. He's been shifted. He's like a utility player.
Can you I suppose, defend him in that sense? That he's been right back, central midfield.
Square pegs, round holes. I hate that. One of my biggest bugbears with managers of mine over the years. I hate square pegs, round holes. We've got a left back, let's play him right wing. We've got a right winger on, we can play him as an 8. At the end of the day, play your right back as a right back, play your right winger wide right. Put people in their positions. A club the size of Liverpool shouldn't need utility players filling in. That right there is one of the biggest problems we've had going into this season. That every right back we have seems to be made of glass or has got an issue. There's too many changes. I don't know Slot's best 11. I don't think you do.
Think he does?
I don't think he does at the moment. That's a problem. You could ask Arteta, he would know his best 11. 95% of those players are going to play in the big games. You know that.
It seems like the players who do come in with an injury know their jobs.
No, absolutely.
Know their jobs.
And Liverpool's biggest problem isn't just Van Dijk. McAllister's been below par this season. So many of their top players, Gravenberch hasn't been anywhere near the standard of last year. So many of their top players have fallen way below. What do they say about climbing a mountain when you're a champion? You win, you climb the mountain. It's tougher to go back down it and go back up again, or even to stay up there. That's where you give respect to Man City, winning so many titles for so many years in a row. Liverpool haven't quite. We waited a long time to win a league title. The back-to-back seems to be the next big thing we need to obviously change. So, look, it's not all is lost. They can have a great season. They can win the Champions League, finish top 4. Right now, it feels like it's the end of the world. It's not.
Now, you're defending him there. You think that maybe... do his teammates need to do more to help him?
What we're not focusing on there in the clip is, look at Konate before that. He's like Bambi on ice trying to win a header. If he does his job, Van Dijk's partner, and clears that out, you're never in that situation in the first place. So he's now making up for Konate's mistake because he gets beaten, the ball gets knocked down, and then Van Dijk makes the mistake of passing it straight to their player in a moment of panic with everything going on. Look, Virgil van Dijk's been a world-class player for years, one of the best defenders the Premier League's seen for a long time. He's having a tough period of time, but I would also argue he's dealing with a lot around him. I'm not trying to make excuses for him because he hasn't been perfect. And last night was another example where you'd say, put your body on the line, go out and meet the player, go out and block the shot properly as opposed to backing off, which is a big thing that he does. I'm not a technician, so I'm not going to teach one of the best defenders in the world how to block a shot or how to defend. But I would always say, look at the circumstances. And it's very easy to kick a player when they're down. Confidence is a funny thing in any sport. And Jamie's right about being fragile. Liverpool are fragile. They're having a moment. Their captain's having a moment. But he's also looking around the dressing room. He's looking around the 11 and he's seen a different right back one week, a different left back one week, a goalkeeper with hamstring issues where they've got to change a goalkeeper. He's got a partner next to him who keeps getting played, who really, if we had another central defender, would probably have been dropped already because he's been one of the probably worst performers this season. So there are mitigating circumstances for what's going on. Never mind the midfield in front of him who aren't doing enough to close down the opposition as well. So it's not just a Virgil van Dijk issue. This is an overall bigger issue since the summer.
The first half performance was considered
lackluster.
Flat, lackluster.
Yeah, lackluster.
What do you put that down to, though?
I think they're struggling within themselves. They went to West Ham, did a job, got a result they needed to get. It was like a get win quickly fix, which worked. And then obviously they're back at Anfield last night. Last time they'd been there, they obviously got stuffed by Nottingham Forest. So the pressure's on the players. I think a lot of players are struggling to adapt, particularly the players who moved in the summer. I think everything gone on at Liverpool since Jota passed away, God bless him, it hasn't been an ideal summer from a recruitment perspective with, Isak obviously not fit, not up to speed quick enough. I think the biggest issue for me was not replacing Luis Diaz. I think that's been a big problem for Liverpool. And then Mo Salah's not sudden decline, but the fact he's looking a year older. Those wide areas were our strength. They now look like a weak area for the team. So